Negativity, you can protect yourself from negativity. And that's what stops most people, negative thought. You can coat your mind from negativity. It's a real simple exercise to do. I do it every morning before I walk out the door. So I walk out as a positive person. You know, I get tired sometimes. That's different from being negative because I get mentally drained from my job at times. But to coat your mind from negativity, the way you can put a coating around your mind is with one simple thing, gratitude. Gratitude erases negativity. I'm gonna show you how this works. If you wake up in the morning and you start having negative thoughts, man, this ain't my day. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I'm tripping, I just don't feel myself. Every time you feel, in the middle of the day, if you feel yourself doing that, stop. Just stop for a second and start going over in your mind everything you have to be grateful for. Not everything you want, everything you already have. Because what you have is substantial. You just haven't gone over the list and taken inventory in a long time. But the fact that you can walk, that's a blessing. The fact that you woke up, that's another blessing. The fact that you can see, think, reason, that's another blessing. The fact that you can go somewhere and get yourself something to eat, that's another blessing. The fact that you can go and turn the key and call someplace home, that's another blessing. The ability to dream is a blessing. The fact that you have an opportunity to get it right is another blessing. The fact that you're beautiful, that's another blessing. The fact that you have any measure of health, that's another blessing. And I'm just talking to you, I don't even know you. I could give you 50 things you ought to be grateful for right now. I don't even know you. Start coating your mind with gratitude. It'll change everything for you.
So today's message is about thinking. There's some stats you need to know. Number one is, average person, you and I have about 75,000 thoughts a day rattling around in this thing we call our brains and our minds. 75,000 of them. The crazy thing is 91% of those thoughts are identical to the previous day and are identical to the day before that and the day before that and the day before that. And then we wonder why our life seems to repeat itself over and over again. So really the difference in our life, if we have 75,000 thoughts a day, here's the crazy thing, 91% of them are exactly the same. The separation in our life is in those 9% of their thoughts, because remember this, these magnets are pretty powerful. That's why I'm always saying that your obsessions become your possessions, because they do. You draw into your life exactly what it is you think about. It's a physical reality that you attract to yourself what you think about. So the difference in our life is 9% of our thoughts. That's why people say all the time the difference between winning and losing is so small, it's almost too scary to talk about. And really, we have identified what it is. It's 9% of what we think about alters the direction of our life. So what I'm here to tell you today is you've got to hone in and get aware of what you think about and then alter those 9% of the thoughts that are variable on a daily basis to serve you. Because if you don't, these thoughts become like viruses. They're viruses in our mind. What happens in a computer when it gets a virus? It slows down. It becomes sluggish. It doesn't function at its optimal level. Same thing with our thinking. If we don't get those 9% of our thoughts to serve us, our lives go in a completely different direction. So remember this. You don't see things in your life as they are. You see things in life as you are. And so the more you alter you, the more you begin to see things differently. What's is amazing about this is we control who we are by what we think about. Think about this just for a second. Wherever you're sitting watching this, the chair that you're sitting in, if you're sitting in a chair, if you're driving in a car and you're listening to this, that seat you're in started in someone's mind as a thought, right? Every detail of it, the fabric, the cushions, the way it's structured, every single piece of that started in someone's mind as a thought and then became a reality by putting out the pieces together. See, everything in life is that way as well. It always begins with a thought. When we think a new thought, here's what literally happens. Thinking a new thought literally opens a space up in our minds, in our lives, that never existed before prior to having that thought. It's like a brand new space you've created just by thinking it. And what happens is your unconscious and subconscious mind goes to work on filling in that space with the people, places, resources, and things to fill it up like a room and an architect would, to fill up that space and fully furnish it. That's the power of how we think. So literally everything that exists started as a thought in someone's mind and then became a material matter. And so you've got to begin to think about the things you want to materialize in your life on a regular basis and think about it repetitiously. Literally the things that we obsess about become the things that we possess in our lives. Most people, those variable 9% of the thoughts is the new thing they're worried about, the new fear they have, the new response to an email they have to make, and they never dictate the terms. Remember this, your mind is a weapon. And you got to begin to use it and pick that weapon up and control it. Most people are out of control with their mind. They don't point it at something. They let the world point it, and they misfire all the time. So today, I want you to pick up that weapon that is your mind and begin to point it at the things you want, knowing that it's a magnet that draws to you the things in your life that you would most like to have or that you would most not like to have. And that's where most people make the mistakes in their life. So today I want you to begin with first taking an inventory of the thoughts you have that don't serve you. And I want you to write them down. And I want you to eliminate them. Step one, write down the thoughts that don't serve you and eliminate them. How do I eliminate them? By replacement. You eliminate them with replacement by thinking a new thought. It's as simple as saying, what thought would I need to have that would serve me to get this goal or dream or vision that I have? And get that thought, write it down, repeat it over and over and over and over again. Because there's a part of our brain called the reticular activating system.
But I think that's good advice. Don't be a follower, be a student, right? Take advice, but not orders. Take information, but don't let somebody, order your life. Make sure what you do is the product of your own conclusion. Excellent note to make. Make sure what you do is the product of your own conclusion. Not to do what someone else says. Take what someone else says, process it, think about it, ponder it. If it makes you wonder, if it makes you think, then it's valuable. Then when you go take action, make sure that the action is not what somebody told you to do. Make sure the action is the product of your own conclusion. If you'll follow just a little bit of those simple guidelines, I'm telling you, the learning process can be speedy, swift, powerful. Your learning curve can go up, and then applying it to your business, your life, your family, conversations, equities of all kinds. You'll find some progress like I did that first 5 years when I met a teacher willing to share with me, turn my life around. Progress I couldn't believe happened for me. Okay, let's get started. I want to review, I was here last time and we talked about the 5 major pieces to the life puzzle. And I just want to review those because it lays such a good foundation for all the rest that I want to share with you today. We got a lot of subjects to cover, so we're going to go rather swiftly, okay? Put on your mental track shoes here and run with me today, because I'm going to deal mostly in concepts. Expect you to, fill in a lot of the details, because I got a lot to share. I want to get through it all. But let's lay this foundation again of the 5 major pieces. Happens to be the title of my latest book, but I think it is so valuable in laying a foundation. It's some of the things I learned between ages 25 and 30. The teacher who taught me so well. He dealt in these fundamentals, we call these. Fundamentals. We call these basics. Basics for sports, fundamentals for sports, fundamentals for your business, fundamentals for the way you deal with your family, a few simple things, a few basic things that if you practice every day can make all the difference in the world, how it works out. I boiled it down to 5 major pieces to the life puzzle. Let's just review those. Number 1 is philosophy. Philosophy, as I taught the last time I was here, philosophy, in my personal opinion, is the major determining factor in how your life works out. Philosophy, the major determining factor in how your life works out. Philosophy. To form our philosophy, you got to think, got to use your mind, got to process ideas. And this whole process over a lifetime, starting way back here when we were children, schools that we've attended, our parents, our experiences, all this stuff that we've processed by the thinking process helps to develop our philosophy. And in my opinion, each person's personal philosophy is the major factor in how your life works out. Here's what I called it in that last presentation when I was here. It's called the set of the sail. Each person's personal philosophy is like the set of the sail. Now, I used to think it was circumstances that ordered my life. If someone would have asked me at age 25, Mr. Rohn, how come you're not doing well? Pennies in your pocket, creditors calling, nothing in the bank, behind on your promises to your family, you live in America, 25 years old, got a beautiful family, every reason to do well, and things are not going that well for you. What is wrong here? It would not have occurred to me to blame my philosophy. I mean, it would not have occurred to me. Saying, well, I got this lousy philosophy, and that's how come I got pennies in my pocket and nothing in the bank. Things aren't working well. That would not have occurred to me. I found it much easier to blame the government. Much easier to blame the tax problem. I used to say taxes are too high. Top tax rate when I first started paying tax, 91%. Back then, when your income reached a certain level, all your income over that, 91%. So I used to say that's too high. Now, the top tax rate's about 33%. But people are still saying what? Taxes are too. See, but you can't use that anymore. If it's gone from 91 to 33, how could it be too high? Come on. I threw all that old excuse stuff away. Some people found it, though, and they're my old list. I used to blame the traffic, the weather, used to blame circumstances, right? People say I'm too tall, I'm too short, I'm too old, I was raised in obscurity, raised on a farm, parents of modest means, all the stuff. If you were to ask me, how come you find yourself here, Mr. Rohn, age 25, living in America, land of abundance and opportunity, pennies, zero in the bank, not doing well, creditors calling, it would not have occurred to me to blame my philosophy. I found it easier to blame the company policy. I used to say, if this is all they pay, how do they expect you to do well? So I figured that, my future was going to be tied to what everybody else was arranging, the economy and, interest rates. I used to say things cost too much. That was my whole explanation, not my philosophy, until my teacher taught me better that this is where the problem was, my own personal philosophy. Here's what's exciting about each person's personal philosophy. That's what makes us different than dogs and animals and birds and cats and spiders and alligators. That's what makes us different than all other life forms. The ability to think, the ability to use your mind, the ability to process ideas, and not just operate by instinct. In the winter, I'm telling you, the goose can only fly south. What if south doesn't look too good? Tough luck. It can only fly south. But see, human beings are not like a goose, can only fly south. I mean, you can turn around, go north, you can go east, you can go west, you can order the entire process of your own life. And we do that by the way we think. We do that by exercising our mind. It says, if you search, you will find. So make the note, it's good. Finding is reserved for the searchers because they deserve it. Now, at first they may have needed it, but they now know that just needing it is not sufficient. But if they need it, now they must qualify for it. The reason why you're going to be blessed with good ideas this weekend is because you've come searching. You've gotten on an airplane to come searching. Got in your automobile to come searching. You got here searching. Now you're ready to receive. And for those who search, they will find answers. They will find plans, imagination to stir yourself into action for future benefit. So if you search, to find a good idea, you must go looking, go searching. You've got to go to church. You've got to go to class. You've got to go to the seminar. You've got to go to the library. You've got to go to the books if you wish to find. Rarely does a good idea interrupt you. Rarely. But if you will search, you will find. So we get not what we need, but we get what we deserve. It says if you ask, someone has an answer. If you keep asking, the answers belong to you. Because by virtue of asking, you have qualified. So we don't get what we need, we get what we deserve. The mother on welfare should be taught in some small manner that hopefully she can begin deserving the welfare check. Not getting it because she needs it, but now starting to get it because she deserves it. If the welfare worker says to Mary, Mary, I brought a bucket of paint and a paintbrush, and the next time I come, if the door is painted and the fence here in front is painted, I give you the check for $450. Not that painting the door and painting the fence is worth $450. It's not worth that much, but it is the beginning of the process. So make that note. I want to begin the process of deserving. What would that be? What process should I begin engaging in to deserve good health, to deserve a good relationship, to deserve prosperity, to deserve an enterprise, to deserve the opportunity to build a city? What must I do to begin the process of deserving? So now the welfare worker comes back and the door is painted and the fence is painted. And now Mary gets the $450 to help take care of her children, not because she needs it, but because she's beginning to deserve it. Then the welfare worker thinks of some other project. She said, Mary, if these weeds are gone and this little garden is cultivated, when I come back, now that the door is painted and the fence is painted, if the weeds are gone and this little garden is cultivated, you get the $450. And step by step, a new life is emerging, learning the process of deserving it, not just needing. We teach our children at home, right? Child says, I need $10. So that language doesn't work here. There's plenty of money here, and the vaults are full. But to say I need $10 is not how you open the vault. So the child says what? Wow, how can I get that $10 that I need? So here's what they learn to say. How could I earn $10? Now the vault opens up. Now the money starts to flow. How could I earn $10? What could I do to earn the money? Not to get the money because you need it, but Maybe you need the money. All of us have needs. But here, the key is to figure out how to open the vault, how to open the bank, how to open this unbelievable flow of resources to come our way. And here's the key: to deserve it, not to be. You can't walk out to the field and say to the field, I need a crop. Here's what the field says. Here's what the ground says. Who is this clown that brings me his need but brings me no seed? So jot that down. Take your seed to the marketplace, not your need. Don't disclose your need to the marketplace, only your willingness. We'll talk about that a little later today. Because the marketplace is not interested in your need, but they are interested in your seed. They're interested in your willingness to work. They're interested in your disciplines. They're interested in your eagerness. They're interested in your vitality and your work ethic. That's what the marketplace is interested in. Not your need, but your seed. We get what we deserve.
You shouldn't put money in a house. You should put money in your brand. You should put money in the marketing. You should promote yourself, not put money in where you and the kids live.
Right. Why is that a mistake?
Because it's dead money. I mean, a house can't make you money. A house does not make you money. The only reason people think a house makes some money is they're comparing it to, if I rent, that costs me money. But, you know, if you need to go to a hospital, you don't buy the hospital. You rent a bed to get out of there as fast as you can. If you go on a trip, you go to America and you want to go to Disneyland, you don't buy the hotel, you rent a room. And nobody thinks poorly of that. They're like, yeah, I'm gonna go there, use the place and get out. That's what you should be doing with your living. Find a place where you can rent. Pay rent monthly. Don't own the house. And take all the money that you would have put in that house purchase, down payment, extra money, fixing it up. Use all that money to improve your business and yourself so that you can get more money. Right? So I see so many people here like, I'm going to invest 300,000 pounds in a house to hopefully make $30,000, 30,000 pounds. Right. I'm going to buy it for 300. Maybe I'll sell it for 600,000. I'll double my money. Fixed in one place, by the way, where no money comes to you. Money does not go to homes.
Right. And that's a big thing on your career is moving locations.
Yeah, I've moved 5 or 6 times. I can move another 4 or 5 times.
Because people who stay in the same place get too comfortable.
If you study wealthy people, they're mercurial. They're moving. They're mobile. They're not talking. Warren Buffett and Bill Gates do not talk about the home they live in. They talk about the places they're going to. They go meet money. They go meet wealth. They go meet connections.
People are stunningly accepting of anything if they actually believe that's the purest form of it. I think I'd be less acceptable if I hedged. I really do. People will accept you. People accept everything. Just be you. Be you, and clearly people react. When you're trying to fake something and you've got bad intent, well then that's visceral and we hate. But I actually think we don't give love to the person that actually knows they have it and they're trying to fake it to conform. Hence why I won't adjust to this market all the way, because I don't think I'll be respected. I know what my intent is, so why would I be scared? I want to build the biggest building in town. That's who I am.
Once you think about the goals that you want to achieve, and I really want to challenge you to make up your mind that you're going to make that happen for yourself. And I hope that it's some goal that really resonates with who you are. When I was a little boy, my goal was to just buy groceries for our family. My mother worked on Miami Beach. She was a domestic worker. And my goal was to really be able to go to the grocery store and purchase groceries ourselves. The families knew that my mother had adopted 7 children. And so they said, Mamie, whatever food is left over after we eat, you can take that home to the children. They were very kind, very, very considerate people. My mother, who when she worked on Miami Beach, the people were very kind. I was appreciative of their generosity. But as a little boy, I said, Mama, one day, when I become a big boy, I'm going to be able to buy groceries for us. My goal as a little boy was to buy clothes for my brothers and sisters. We wore the hand-me-down clothes of the children that Mama babysat for when she went over in Miami Beach. And if the clothes were too small, she would let them out. And if they were too large, Mama could sew and take them up. And I'll never forget David Sidursky. His father was very wealthy. Mama worked for him, but David was my buddy. And so his father gave him 2 gifts for his birthday. Gave him a brand new boat, but he also gave him some motivational tapes. Earl Nightingale, I'll never forget. So he said, David, man, let me tell you something. when I die, you're going to get everything. I want you to listen to these tapes. And when his father left the room, David threw those tapes in the wastebasket. I said, David, could I have those tapes? He said, yes. I said, man, your father said, if you listen to these, you could get more and do more than what he's done. He said, hey, look, I'm going to get everything anyhow. Go ahead, take them. Write this down. It's not what you leave for your children, it's what you leave in them. You have something special. You have greatness within you. And the only reason you're here, you are my assignment. You can feel me. Some of you feel me right here in your heart of hearts. And my goal is to get past your mind and into your heart. So it's necessary that you have the mindset that I can do this. You've got to begin to believe and to fortify that belief and feed that belief by listening to tapes, going to seminars and workshops, by challenging yourself, by stretching yourself. It was Osborne who said, unless you attempt to do something beyond that which you've already mastered, you will never grow. And as you begin to challenge yourself, you'll discover some things about yourself that you don't know right now. The other thing is you begin to look at yourself, look at your dreams, and begin to experiment and stepping into your greatness. One of the things that's very important, whatever goals and dreams that you have, make your move before you're ready.
Concentrate on the important issues and remember your goals. Let me offer you a few examples of petty thinking versus big thinking.
First situation, working out expense accounts. The petty thinker will figure out ways to increase his income by chiseling or even cheating on expense accounts. The big thinker will figure out ways to increase his income by selling more merchandise and regard the expense account as just that, an expense account. On the idea of progress, the petty thinker believes in the status quo and in taking no chances. The big thinker believes in ideas, expansion, new challenges. On the matter of security, the petty thinker is preoccupied with security problems. The big thinker regards security as a natural companion of success and doesn't worry about it. The petty thinker magnifies minor errors and turns them into big issues. The big thinker ignores errors of little consequence and strives to learn from significant mistakes. So let's briefly sum up some of the tools for thinking big. Don't sell yourself short. Conquer the foe of self-deprecation. Concentrate on your assets. You're really a lot better than you think you are. Use the big thinker's vocabulary. Use big, bright, cheerful words. Use words that promise victory, hope, happiness, pleasure. Avoid words that create images of failure, defeat, and hopelessness. Stretch your vision. See what can be, not just what is. Practice adding value to things, to people, and especially to yourself. Get the big view of your job and of your life. Think, really believe that your present job is important and that you're important too. That next promotion depends mostly on how you think towards your present job. Finally, keep your mind above trivial things. Focus your attention on big objectives. Before getting involved in a petty matter, ask yourself, is it really important?
You've heard me use the word creative several times so far. I've made the point that thinking creatively is an important part of thinking big. But a lot of people are intimidated by that word creative. But they shouldn't be. Let me clear up a common fallacy about the meaning of creative thinking. Certain fields such as art and architecture and music and writing and science and a few others have been labeled creative. Now certainly those fields do involve a lot of creativity, but creative thinking is not reserved for a few special occupations or a few special people. Well, then what is creative thinking? Let me give you some examples. When a low-income family devises a plan to send their children to college, believe me, that's creative thinking. When a neighborhood group turns the neighborhood's most undesirable lot into a beauty spot, that's creative thinking. When a minister develops a plan that doubles his Sunday attendance, he's simply applying creative thinking. Figuring out ways to simplify record keeping, coming up with a new use for a computer program, selling the impossible customer, keeping the kids occupied constructively. These are all examples of practical, everyday creative thinking. And they're just as creative as the architect's new bridge or the composer's new symphony. Creative thinking is simply finding new, better, improved ways of doing things. The rewards of all types of success, success at home, success at work, success in the community, all hinge on finding ways to do things better. Now, let's see what we can do to develop and strengthen our creative thinking ability.
The first step is to simply believe it can be done. Here again is that basic truth. To do anything, you must first believe in it. Believing something can be done sets the mind in motion to find ways to do it. To illustrate this, David Schwartz often asks groups in motivation and training sessions this question: do you feel that it's possible to eliminate jails in the next 25 years? Think about this question for a moment. Now, what's your reaction to the question? Did your mind begin searching for ways to accomplish the challenge that the question raises, to eliminate jails in 25 years? Or did you give it a few moments consideration and simply reject the possibility? If you're like most people, you probably did the latter, rejected the proposition altogether, and decided, no, it's simply not possible to eliminate jails in 25 years. In fact, most people immediately think of all the reasons we have to have jails: keeping the populace safe from criminals, keeping order on our streets, the fact that some criminals are incorrigible, and so forth. But the question is asked to make a point. For just a few moments, forget the reasons that we have to have jails, and just assume that we can eliminate jails in 25 years. Make the assumption. If this could be done, how would you propose we begin? What kinds of things could be done as alternatives? Pause for a moment and give that some thought. Did you have any ideas? If you did, you're not alone. David Schwartz has a list of 78 specific ideas that people have come up with in his seminars to begin the process of eliminating jails. Things like establishing youth centers to cut down on crime, conducting research to spot potential criminals before they commit a crime, working to eliminate poverty, educating law enforcement personnel in positive methods of reform. Now, the point of this, again, is not really to eliminate jails. The point is to illustrate that when you believe something is impossible, your mind goes to work for you to prove why it's impossible. But when you really believe that something can be done, your mind goes to work and helps you find ways to do it.
You, the one who thought you weren't going to make it, who thought you couldn't get up again, who thought it was over, who thought it was the worst day you've ever had, your track record for surviving bad days is 100%. So what would make you think that you won't survive the next bad day? Because God keeps getting you up over and over and over again. So when I fall, I just get up again. Man, he is really good at this. So I got labeled the hardest working man in Hollywood because of my father. My father was a coal miner. He was very poor. My father made $5 a day. He was a coal miner. He had 5 kids. My mother was a Sunday school teacher. My mother taught Sunday school. My mother never worked a day in her life. My father took care of my mother and all his kids. So my father taught me very young. He said, listen to me, son. They can out-sing you. They can outrun you. There were people who can out-jump you. There are people who will outdress you. There are some people who can out-talk you. There are some boys who can out-throw you. There are some people who can out-dance you. But don't you let no man living outwork you. Nobody can outwork me. I don't care who you are. It doesn't matter. I bet you can't. I bet you can't. You can't outwork me. You might be smarter than me, but you can't outwork me. You can't out-hustle me, not Steve Harvey. I'm a hustler, man. I'm a bad man. I'm a hustler for real. No one, I don't care how much money they got. I don't care what color they are. I don't care what their family name is. You cannot outwork me. I won't let you. If you stay up for 5 hours, I stay up for 6. If you go to bed at 11, I go to bed at midnight. If you get up at 6, I get up at 5. If you go to lunch for an hour, I go to lunch for 45 minutes. If you come to work early, I come in earlier than you. That's how I work. So my first TV show was Showtime at the Apollo. Now, I had been homeless when I got this TV show. I had been homeless for 3 years. I lived in a car, but I was telling jokes, and so I had some videotapes, and they saw it, and they asked me to come and perform. I performed, I did well. They asked me to come again, I did well again. They offered me the job of hosting Showtime at the Apollo. They paid me It was the most unbelievable feeling because, you know, you look, I went from zero money to back then in 1992, I think I made about, for the 1992, I made about 22,000 a week. Now listen to me, in Hollywood, that's nothing. That's nothing. But for me, it was everything. You go from zero to $22,000, you gotta be kidding me. I thought I was rich. And to me, I was rich. And so that first check, I spent all of it. I didn't even try to save no money. I took it to the bank, I cashed it. I got $22,000 cash in my pocket. I was not leaving my money in the bank because I had been homeless so long, I needed my money in my pocket. I had $22,000 cash in my pocket.
The best way to present yourself is to stand up forthrightly and to stretch out, and to occupy some space. And you make yourself sort of vulnerable by doing that because you open up the front of your body, right? But it's a sign of confidence. And that way people are most likely to give you the benefit of the doubt. And that's a good way to start regulating your mood. But not only does it directly regulate your mood to stand up, but also because if you straighten up and you present yourself in that manner, then other people are more likely to take you seriously. And that's another way that you can at least give yourself the bloody benefit of the doubt, right? And confront the world in a courageous manner. And that's a really good way of figuring out how to establish yourself in multiple competence hierarchies, because one of the general rules of thumb about how to be successful is to confront things that frighten you forthrightly and with courage. And that's kind of a universal strategy for success. There's always going to be people around that are better at something than you are. And that's a problem, because you can get jealous and you can get bitter and you can get resentful, and worse, you can get hopeless, you know. I have this friend of mine, he told me something so funny. He was decrying his lack of success in the world, and he compared himself to his roommate. And he said, you know, his college roommate was doing much better than he was. And his bloody roommate was Elon Musk. It's like, it wasn't like he was doing badly. Like, he was doing pretty damn well. It's like, I'm not as good as Elon Musk. It's like, yeah, well, you and like 7 billion other people, you know. But I thought it was instructive, because you have to be careful who you compare yourself to. Now, you can't just not compare yourself to successful people, right? Because then you don't have anything to aim at. You need an ideal because you have nothing to aim at, but an ideal is a judge, and you always fall short of the ideal. So how the hell can you have the benefits of having an ideal without having the crushing blow that goes along with having the judge that always regards you as insufficient? And this is something I've had to work out a lot as a clinical psychologist. It's like, well, let's say you need a goal, but we don't want to let your distance from the goal crush you. So you got to set up a goal, and then you got to break the goal down into parts so that you can move towards it and you have a fairly high likelihood of doing it. So that's a bit of practical, I wouldn't say advice, because it's better than advice. It's some practical knowledge about how to go about achieving an aim. Set a high aim, but differentiate it down so you know what the next step is, and then make the next step difficult enough so you have to push yourself past where you are, but also provide yourself with a reasonable probability of success. It's also what you do with children, right? You want to push them because they need to grow up and be more than they are, right? But you don't want to crush them with constant failure. So what you do is aim high and make the goal difficult but proximal. So your goal is to make today some tiny increment better than yesterday. And you can use better, you can define better yourself. This doesn't have to be some imposition of external morality. You know where you're weak and insufficient, where you could improve. Think, okay, well, this is what I'm like yesterday. If I did this little thing, things would be just an increment better. Well, that's a great thing, because you get the ball rolling, and incremental improvement is unstoppable. You can actually implement it, and it starts to generate Pareto distribution-like consequences. It starts to compound.
When you expect things to change, when you keep saying to yourself, I know the breakthrough is coming. I know healing is on the way. I know the right person is in my future. I know what God started, He's going to finish. Your faith can stop the creator of the universe. That's what activates His power. There were other people in the crowd that day that were sick. Many people that had needs. No doubt they bumped into Jesus. Nothing happened. But this lady touched Him. Are you brushing up against Him, or are you touching Him? Are you living with expectancy, knowing that He's bigger than those problems, greater than that sickness, more powerful than that opposition? Or have you become discouraged, thinking it's never going to change? God is passing by. He has all power. Don't just brush up against Him. Don't be passive and think you could never accomplish your dreams, never meet the right person, never start your business. Do like this lady. Reach out and touch Him. Release your faith. Believe that it will happen. This lady was closest to her miracle when she faced the greatest opposition. Would have been easy if Jesus would have come, just a few disciples. She could have gone out and touched Him without the struggle, without all the people in the way, but she had to fight through the crowd. The crowd represents broken dreams, things that didn't work out, thoughts telling you it's never going to get better, you'll never get well, never break the addiction. The crowd can be negative words people have spoken over us. You're not that talented. You can't accomplish your dreams. If you're going to reach your potential, you have to fight through some things. You can't have a weak, give up, this is too hard spirit. You have to be more determined than what's trying to stop you. You may get knocked down, but you have to get back up again. You need to have a made-up mind. This disappointment is not going to stop me. I'm not going to let the mistakes I've made, the guilt, the regrets cause me to shrink back. I'm not going to allow the bad breaks, the people that did me wrong, the rejection, the betrayal, cause me to get bitter and stay where I am. I'm going to fight through the crowd. Many of the miracles Jesus performed, He laid His hands on people and they were healed. But in this case, Jesus didn't lay hands on the woman laid hands on Jesus. Are you waiting for God to lay hands on you, so to speak? God, this problem's so big. When are you going to do something about it? Why don't you lay hands on Him? Instead of complaining about the problem, Lord, I want to thank you that things are turning in my favor. Thank you that no weapon formed against me will prosper. Lord, thank you that you hold victory in store for the upright. I don't see a way, but Lord, I want to thank you. I know you have a way. When you do that, you're laying hands on God. Your faith can initiate the healing. Your faith can be the catalyst for God to do amazing things. Acts chapter 14, the Apostle Paul was teaching people. He noticed a crippled man in the crowd. He'd been that way since birth, never walked. Verse 9 says, Paul realized the man had faith to be healed. Here the man was just sitting in the audience listening to Paul, but he must have had such anticipation on his face. Paul must have seen something in his expression, an expectancy that something good was going to happen, like a little child at a candy store. Paul was so impressed, he stopped his message and said, Sir, I can see you're ready for your miracle. Stand up. The man stood up and instantly he was healed, began to walk for the first time. Like that man, we should live with this anticipation that something good is going to happen. Yes, we've all had difficulties. We all have a reason to be sour. Don't let that talk you out of what God has in store. You wouldn't be alive if there wasn't something amazing in your future. Can your faith be seen? Can anyone notice that you're expecting to go to a new level? Are you talking like it's going to happen? Thinking like it's going to happen? Believing like it's going to happen? God is passing by. But if you're negative, I don't see how it'll work out. I never get any good breaks. I've been this way a long time. You may brush up against Him, but you're not going to touch Him. You have to show God you're ready to be healed, ready to be free, ready to be blessed. There should be an expectancy. It could happen today. You could meet the person of your dreams this week. You could see your health turn around this month.
I'm not a billionaire. You do understand that. We said, Mr. Harvey, we know everything about you. We know your net worth and everything. I said, well, what can you all learn from me? He said, everything. He said, the reason we want to hear your story is because the majority of us that are billionaires, we inherited some money and we grew it. A couple of us inherited $1 billion, we automatically. Some of us inherited 300 million and we turned it into $1 billion. You come from nothing. What we want to know is how you got to where you are after coming from nothing. How did you live in a car for 3 years and wind up on more TV shows than anybody? How did you survive flunking out of school? How did you survive all of that? We want to know that, because in case something happens to us, we don't really have the information that you have, or how to come from the back to the front, or how to come from the bottom to the top. So I get asked oftentimes to speak. And so when I was telling them how I made it, I was telling them about the fortitude that I developed. And then I told them about the faith that I had. And that was really startling to them. Now, a lot of them are people of faith, but a lot of people who were born with a lot of money ain't really had to have a lot of faith. You understand? You have an idea of what it feels like. You've seen some kids get put in foster care. You've seen child protective services come to somebody's house. You've seen kids come to school with less. You might have been one of the kids that went to school with less. You have struggled to give your kids a better life than the one you had. They don't hear this. But I'm going to tell you something right now. You can be successful without an education. You can be successful without coming from a rich family. You can be successful. I don't care what color you are, what faith you belong to, your sexual preference. I don't care what's wrong with you. You can be successful. Everybody in your life will have a turn back moment. No matter who you are, you're going to have such a period in your life where it seems like it's not working. You're going to have doubts. You're going to have a lot of trials and tribulations and challenges. And everybody has what's called a turn back moment. You always have a moment in your life where the direction you're going, you will have to make a decision to keep going or you turn back. The sad thing is the average person turns back. But think about this. If you're going somewhere and you turn back, you can never get there.